Welcome. In this video, I'm going to show you how to produce a graph that looks identical to this. This graph represents density, where mass is plotted on the y-axis and volume is plotted on the x-axis. This is a scatter plot graph where the dots are plotted. There is no line connecting the dots. This line that is on the graph is called a trend line, which is added to the graph. The data points come from a spreadsheet here. When I have my spreadsheet and my data inputted into my spreadsheet, what I need to do to set up my graph is highlight the values that I wish to plot. I only wish to plot these values. Do not select the titles. For me, I need to click Insert. For you, it might be click on Graph or Chart. Locate the chart that just has dots present. Click the down arrow, the drop-down menu, and select the one that just has dots. We don't want them connected. We don't want a smooth curve or a jagged curve, just dots. From this, we need to modify what we're doing. Remember, this is what we're going for. That's our final product that we're looking for. We're not looking for this. All right, so we're gonna have to edit this quite drastically. First things first, I'll take this chart, two-finger click, move chart to a new sheet. We'll call this sample graph. Okay. Excel has not plotted my data the way that I would like to. It has my volume along the y-axis and my mass along the x-axis. I want it the exact opposite. So what I need to do is select a data point, two-finger click, select data. It'll open this dialog box. What Excel did was incorrect for my purposes, so I'm going to remove it. And then I'm going to add a new one. The series name, the thing that I want this called, is density. So I click this box, and this comes up. Navigate to sheet 1. Select the density cell, C1, and then go back. Next box, series X values. Along the x-axis, what did I want? Volume. So I'll click the icon to the right, highlight the values for volume. These will be plotted on the x-axis. Go back. The y values, we want mass. Click the icon, highlight the values, go back. You notice right here it tells you what we selected. Okay. Okay. Now our data is plotted, it's accurately plotted. I just need to modify the way everything looks. You notice we don't have titles on my y-axis or my x-axis, and that's not good. Under the main headings, your main headings might be different than mine. Under design or layout, there is a button that should say quick layout with a lot of different ways you can make graphs appear. This one is rather useful because it has almost everything we need, along with some extra information, including a legend and grid lines. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to select that one. I'm going to immediately delete my legend because I don't need a legend. I'm going to select a grid line and I'm going to delete my grid lines. There's still some left over. I'll select those and delete those as well. As far as formatting, everything is barely visible, so I'm going to increase the size of my density title. Go to the Home tab, increase it to about 36. Select my y-axis, increase the size to about 32, a little bit smaller. X-axis, 32. My values for the y-axis, make them less than 32, but maybe we can keep them kind of big, 20-point font. X-axis, 20-point font. Equation, 20-point font. Let's move it out of the way a little bit too. We need to retitle my axis. Along the y-axis, we have the mass of our object or substance in grams. And along the x-axis, we have the volume of our substance in units of milliliters. Oops. The next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to adjust the numbers here. You see how the y-axis increases by 5 units every time? I'm going to do the same thing along my x-axis. So I'm going to right click or 2-finger click, format axis, adjust your maximum to, let's say, 15, and change your major unit to 5. And now we have a little bit of decluttering, which is nice. Next up, I'm going to increase the size of my markers so that they are a little bit larger. The dots are called markers. Right click, format data series. Yours will look differently. Select the marker option. Marker options, built-in, whichever shape you like. I'm partial, I like diamonds, and increase that size of those diamonds. Whatever you think looks about good. I'm going to choose 12 right now. Now they're much more visible. One thing that's not very visible is my trend line. I click on my trend line, 2-finger click, format trend line. It's linear, which is good. Our equation is displayed, which is good. R squared value, we do not need an R squared value. So let's hide that. Unselect that value, if it's present. And then we want to fix our trend line so that it's a little bit darker and more visible. Right now mine is set up as a dotted line. I wanted a solid line. I'm going to change it to black in color. I'll get out of there. Now my graph looks pretty good. I've got my axes title, my main title. Data points are emphasized, being a little bit larger. My scale of my X and Y axis are identical. Every 5 units is labeled. And the graph is complete. The original graph is here. This is the new graph. Hopefully this is helpful. Hopefully you are able to replicate this data. What we have done is not just plot simple data points, but we truly analyzed our data by adding that trend line, adding that equation. When we think about this, the equation, the slope of our trend line tells us something. Remember from your math classes, slope equals rise over run. The rise in this graph is mass. The run is volume. Rise over run, mass divided by volume, which is density. The slope of this line tells you the density of the material. Thank you for listening. Hopefully this was helpful.